Welcome back. In this video tutorial part 2 of making interactive dashboard, we are going to prepare the background design for our dashboard. So here you can see bunch of options or bunch of different shapes have been added in our Excel worksheet. So let's see one by one. So first of all you need to add the main background rectangle that is added. Simply clicking this insert button and under the shape menu add the simple rectangle, and then adding the rectangle you need to adjust these statistics. So under the this fill and line option, make a gradient fill and adjust these parameters one by one and add the gradient slope and its different values by simply these and made it no line. Okay, and then add the left side panel rectangle, and these settings are the gradient fill and the gradient slope. These two gradient slopes have been added, and this is the color and this is the code of this color. Okay, so you can also check the code of this color as well, like this. All right, next add the wave one, and this wave one is again, so actually all the shapes have been added by simply using this shape menu, right? So this wave settings are this is the gradient slope 1 and this is the gradient slope 2, and now add an other wavelength, and this is the gradient slope options for wave 2. Now we need to hide these menus, and in that case add a rectangle, a simple rectangle with white color, and also hide these grid lines, right? Done. Then made a billboard, and these are the some settings like this. Then add the options for white backgrounds. So these seven are the measures that is actually need to answer or represent our data set values, and then add these highlights one by one to make some static visualization looks, and adjust these color setting as you like, right? Then add a picture of a boat. You can find this picture under the insert pictures and the stored images option, or you can also use your browser for finding the pictures. Okay, so the next step is to making some measures. So the first one is finding the category wise percentage total sales values, or how we can find it. So let's move to the Excel worksheet view. So here you can see a pivot table is added. So this pivot table is actually added with the total sales and the categories options. So you can make a pivot table like this. So we need to select the categories under the row field, and we need to select the total sales under the values field, and then right click on it and click show values as percentage of grand total, and here we have it. Okay, so the next step is to make the chart. So move to the insert and click this pivot chart and click this line option, and under the line option select this line with marker and then click OK, and the chart is now added. So the next thing is to hide all these fade values, and then select these options or press the delete key. So also delete this background and let's adjust it. and now move to the format and no fill and no line. Okay, so the next thing is select this have x-axis, format axis, and under this fill and line option select no fill and no line, right? So the next thing is to make this line as a solid line with this color, and now select any of these header values, move to again fill and line option, click this markers, and under marker options make this size as 8, or select this option. Okay, so solid fill and with white color, and solid line with this maroon color, and let's increase its width value. And now click this plus button to add the data labels, and now press the bold for Ctrl plus B to bold the text values and make it color as automatic, and also make or change the color of the text as blue and bold it. That's it. So now let's reshape it, and now let's move this chart to the dashboard, and here we have it. Okay, so the next step is to updating the sales dataset. So let's see how we can do it. So the thing is, right now we have 77,595 sales row. So we can update it by simply updating or first replacing the sales worksheet with updated one. So let's delete this worksheet and rename it as the sales. That is the most recent one. And now let's move back to the Excel view and click this refresh button, and here we have it. It will take some of the time to update the sales value, and here we have it. Okay, so the next thing is updating the locations dataset. So first we need to update the location worksheet, same as the sales. So this is the most recent updated worksheet, so place it in that specific folder that is actually linked to the Power Query connection. That was actually created at the start of the video tutorial 1. Okay, so let's move back to the Excel worksheet and click this refresh button. So we have some information, don't worry about it. Right click this locations field and click this edit button, and let's remove this step so that the data is now being updated. In some case you may found these issues if the data values are not consistent with if the updated data set is not consistent with the previous worksheet. So here you can see the city and its country name, value, state, region, country, and the country zips. So what we can do, let's first remove these applied steps. So actually we need to remove these two steps. That's it. So it's looked fine for me. Let's refresh it. Let's click this close and load, and here we have it. The issue is gone, and we have now 99,618 rows. Okay, now we are going to importing some multiple CSV file as a one step. Previously we have import 4 CSV file on a separate step, but right now we have multiple files. So in that case, if you have a bunch of Excel files or the CSV files, then you may use these step, but here we are actually further adding or updating our data values for the sales table. So these are the steps that we need to follow to update the sales value from move to the data tab from folders and click this international sales folder, and this connection is now built using the Power Query. Click this transform data, and the Power Query editor menu is open. Let's click this button to append these four CSV files into a single Excel table, and then click OK. Now combine these two columns by clicking this add column and click this merge column, and make sure the header is correctly ordered, that is the country zip, because we need to actually make the relationship between these tables. Let's remove this first column because we no longer need it, and rest of the data field are fine, but we need to also apply the date filter here, that is the after date filter, and let's type the date. So in this case, after 12/31/2011, all the dates is shown in our data table. So let's correct this as is after, not is before, and then click OK. And as you soon click on the OK button, you can see the date from 2012 to onward is now filtered. Now click close and load to, and under this menu import data, click only create connection and make sure not check the data model option because we don't want to add it into the data model. And now let's connect this data into the sales data table. So right click the edit button, and now we need to append the query that was created previously in international sales table. So click this append query button, and now click that table name, that is the international sales table. Click OK. Now the query is being run, and it is combined all the data into a single sales tables. Alright, so the query is applied. Now simply click close and load, and here you can see the sales row data is now updating, and that's it. So now we have 3,15,395 rows. So the next thing is to add in some slicers to filter out our data values. So how we can add the slicer? Move to the pivot table field options, and you can select the field value for adding the slicer, or you can also use the pivot table analyze option as well. So simply click the country, right click and add the slicer, and here you can see all the countries are listed under the slicer field value, and you can also make the connection with other filter tables like this. So previously we have the only country, that is the USA, and now we have five countries data values, that are Canada, France, Germany, Mexico, and the USA. Now we need to also update the table worksheet. So to do it, you need to follow this step. Move to the Power Pivot tab and click this data model, and if this table column or the table worksheet actually is not updated automatically, then you can do it, so no need to worry about it. So how we can add it before the rest of the date field into this previously created date table? So move to the design and click this update range button. That is actually showing the 2013 year date values. So click this update date value and type the start and end date, that is start from the 2012 and end for 2015, and then click OK. And as you click OK, you can see the whole calendar table is updated. Alright, now it's time to add the date slicer, and simply select this pivot table to make another pivot table, and let's apply some changes in this pivot table. Remove the category field, and now we are going to add the country under the row field, and now let's sort the sale values as smallest to largest, and now let's show these values as percentage of grand total for each of the countries. And now let's add the other measure, that is the table for the date field or the year. So in this case we want to add the year slicer. So you can see the year for 2012 to 2015 is now added in our data values, and you can make this filter to connect the rest of the pivot tables as well. Okay, so now it's time to find in the percentage of sales per month. So let's move to the Excel worksheet. Okay, so now let's move for making the percentage of sales per category by chart. So to make this chart, we need to first add or create the pivot table, and the pivot table is added for each of the respective month with respect to the total sale values. So you need to simply check these two options for making the actually uh, this pivot table, and then click anywhere between this pivot table, right click and click this show values as percentage of grand total, and then move to the pivot table analyze or either the insert tab for making the pivot chart. Click on it and you need to select the first one, that is the cluster column chart, and then click OK, and you can see the cluster column chart is now pop up on the screen. So the first thing is we need to hide these two field buttons and the field list button, and then delete these options and also remove these backgrounds, right? So the next thing we need to adjust some other cosmetic or add in some other cosmetic changes. So follow this step, format axis, and under this option make it as this, and then series gap width is 100%, and the next thing is to hiding the solid fill and line option as no fill no line. Let's uh, replace the color from by default to this blue one and make a bold. The next thing is to show the values, so add the data labels and make these values as this light blue color and also make it as bold. Then move to the format tab and under the shape fill add these options like no fill no outline. Let's try it out. So the thing is our chart is ready. So the next step is to add this shape into this chart value. So how we can do it? Simply move to the insert and under shape menu select this option and make it here, write this. And now you need to apply some other format shape options, like you need to fill under the fill menu option click this gradient fill radio button and add these two gradients to first one as 14%, second one at 100%, and for line is the solid line, and the color of this line is this one, and this is actually the code of this color, and the width is 1.75. Now the next step is to simply select this shape and press the Ctrl C from using keyboard. Move to the chart, select any of the bars and click Ctrl V, and that's it. So in this way you can add a column chart with customized rectangles, or you can say the customized infographic chart.